Hey everybody, Mike Kennedy and Terry Brandon in the RDMG TV studios. And I'm here with Terry Brandon, who has been an official for basketball for the past 27 years.
Yes, sir.
Long time.
Long time.
This year, he was also selected as a part of the Big 12 Division I Women's Basketball Observer crew.
That is correct. Yes.
I got that all out.
You got it out.
It took a while, but congratulations on that. You got really a lot of credentials. So it gives us an opportunity to talk about the 2013-2014 rules of the game. And in basketball, boys or girls, there seems to be a lot of things that happen during the course of the game. The fans get riled up, they get out of sorts on different things. What is it you see, just from your perspective, about what really gets the crowd riled up and thinking that the officials don't know what they're talking about?
Well, you know, Mike, probably the biggest call that gets people worked up is the block charge call. You know, we see in the Division I level where they put the restriction arc in, which is similar to what they do in the NBA. We don't have that advantage in high school basketball. We also don't have the advantage of going back and having a lot of video plays to go back and look at and train our officials. So it's probably the most difficult call in high school basketball, and probably the one that gets people stirred up the most.
What do you see as far as the preparation that you guys go through? Let's talk about that as far as officials, because I guess they have a pool of officials to work from, and tell us just a little bit about that process.
Well, Mike, all the officials in the state of Oklahoma that I know of that referee high school basketball are part of the Oklahoma Secondary Schools Activities Association. And also throughout the state, there are a number of local associations. As in Cushing, we are assigned to the Stillwater Association. And so through those associations, you have in-house training, you have on-the-floor training. There's also a two-part testing process that goes on throughout that. So a whole lot of different things that go on throughout the year that help get you prepared for your season, in addition to the different officials camps.
Yeah, and one thing that I see, it tries to be consistent from game to game or from different officiating crews. They always try to use the same mannerisms, the same way to make the call. I mean, is there a technique to that?
Well, Mike, one of the things that the National Federation emphasizes, especially this year, is using the proper mechanics. Every official is given a book that outlines all the proper mechanics. You can find it online, but they really emphasize using the proper mechanics so there's consistency. And so there's no confusion about what one official's doing versus another official on Friday night versus one on Saturday night.
Some of the things that you see, and most people don't know this, but 3 points as far as backcourt, because a lot of times you hear it from the crowd, they want to call backcourt and all these kind of things. What constitutes a backcourt?
Well, let's use my arm here as a division line, okay? If I'm dribbling the basketball up the floor, if I move 1 foot across the line, I'm dribbling the ball across the line, but yet I've still got 1 foot back here in the backcourt, that is not considered a front court possession. That is still considered backcourt. So if I brought the ball and my foot back to the backcourt, that would still be a legal move. However, people need to understand that the 10-second backcourt count is still going. So you have to advance the ball up the floor and get it across the front court within 10 seconds.
It takes 3 points to do that, though.
It takes 3 points to do it. And those 3 points are your 2 feet and the ball.
Okay. And so now throwing the ball in, they can throw the ball all the way down the length of the floor, basically, and retrieve that to go back on offense.
Yes, that's another call that gets people all stirred up. You have a front court throw in, all of a sudden the visiting team throws the ball in and goes into the back court without anybody from the home team touching it. They run back, they pick it up, and they begin dribbling it back into the front court. People just go crazy. On a throw in, there is no back court. And so that was a rule that they changed a few years ago. So again, on a throw in, no back court.
Has there been any really significant changes from last year? How often do you see a significant change from year to year?
Mike, every year the National Federation of High Schools, they meet in Kansas City, discuss a myriad of different things. We're always getting different bulletins and communication that spell out the different things that they may be talking about. I know last year that our association here in Oklahoma, the Oklahoma Secondary Schools Association, said, hey, what do you guys think about a potential rule change that they laid out? And so we were able to give some input back. But every year they meet every summer to talk about different things that they can do to maybe change that will help coaches, players, and officials manage the game better.
Some of the points of interest here, granting timeouts. Let's talk about granting timeouts, guidelines to enforce illegal contact and intentional fouls. Talk about those.
On the timeouts, point of emphasis, it's a really big thing to make sure that you use the proper mechanic. This is the mechanic signaling a 30-second timeout, and then what they call a string pull is what's used to signal a full timeout. So it's really important that officials use the proper mechanic. There is another mechanic, but it's an NCAA mechanic that is not applicable to high school basketball.
Okay, and so illegal contact, sometimes on forcing or needing a foul to get a foul or whatever, and you see somebody grabbing somebody, what's the rule on that?
Well, one of the biggest things at the end of the game that you see is you'll see maybe a player that'll come up and maybe bear hug another player. Nothing malicious, nothing hard. That is considered an intentional foul. As an official, do I always call that an intentional foul? No, I don't. I think you have to apply a lot of great common sense, apply a lot of logic to what's going on, and also good situation game management is extremely important.
So you're aware of the time remaining, the team fouls
Yes.
at hand, all that kind of stuff plays into that, and on the spur of the moment, you try to use that judgment
Yes.
to make the call.
Everything but the score. Everything but the score matters at that point.
Really, so 51-50, somebody comes up and grabs the other player, what do you do?
Well, it all depends. Again, it goes back to what is that situation? How's the game playing out? What's your ability to help manage that game and manage it appropriately? So I'm not going to tell you that I've always called an intentional foul because I haven't. Again, you want to assess every one of those situations.
But they had the right to make that call as an official.
Absolutely.
But you can let it go and let it play out.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Proper mechanics, we talk about that dead ball officiating. What does that mean?
Dead ball officiating is making sure that you watch what's going on the off ball. What is the off ball? Well, let's say my partner's called a foul. It's my job now to freeze and watch the players, okay? And my job in doing this is to make sure there's no unsportsmanlike activity going on, no one talking when they're not supposed to be talking, saying things they shouldn't be saying, basically. And also watching and making sure that we're ready to get the ball back in play in a very timely manner. Actually, Mike.
One last question. Do a lot of times the coaches, do they influence the call with officials? Do you see that a lot, or are they pretty much just hardcore, stay on it, and do they let that influence?
I'll be real honest with you. I don't know one official that can say that they haven't been influenced to maybe call something based on a coach protesting and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Well, a lot of coaches, smart coaches, they use that to strategy. They got to do they get the officials flustered a little bit as the players do the other team?
Hey, I'm not going to tell you that I haven't been flustered because I have.
Yeah. Well, hey, a lot of good information here. We'll hear more from Terry Brandon throughout the season, different things. Glad to have you back in studio. We're going to go kick it back out to the guys. And you've been watching Rules of the Game from RDMG TV.